I'm a Christian, but I do not believe in Adam and Eve. And the next question you might be thinking is, how are you a Christian, but you don't believe the Bible? I never said I don't believe the Bible. What I don't believe is in the literal interpretation of the Bible of Adam and Eve. And this is how. When most people think about the Adam and Eve narrative, they think about Moses standing on top of a mountain, having a vision, and Moses writing down what is happening at the beginning of creation. But that is not how the Genesis account actually was made. So what a lot of you guys do not know is Moses did not write the first 5 books of Genesis. And there is no Bible verse that says that Moses wrote the first 5 books of Genesis, but rather this came from an oral tradition around the 2nd century BC. Genesis chapters 1 to 11 actually was written 300 years after the reign of King Solomon, and it was written during the Babylonian captivity. In 596 BCE, the Israelites were taken as captives from Israel into the land of Babylon, Mesopotamia. It was there when the Adam and Eve story was actually created, when the Israelites were captives in the land of Babylon. This is the reason why in the creation account, God creates the world in 7 days. Well, that was done on purpose. The person who made the creation account, what he's doing is he actually took that from the book of 1 Kings, which was written between 20 to 40 years before Genesis chapters 1 to 11. In 1 Kings chapter 6, verse 38, King Solomon makes the first temple of Adonai, and it takes King Solomon 7 years to make the first physical temple of Adonai. So just like it took King Solomon 7 years to make the first temple, the person who crafts the creation account in Genesis chapter 1, he's modeling Genesis chapter 1 after Solomon, who created the temple in 7 years. So just like Solomon made the temple in 7 years, the Genesis author decided to make a story about God making the world in 7 days. And this was trying to communicate to the Israelites who were in captivity, who were in a land away from their home, who didn't have a temple at that point in history. The author is trying to communicate, even though we don't have a temple, even though we don't have a land, it's okay. Because us Israelites, while we are in captivity, we claim that the whole of creation is the temple for our God. So in Genesis chapter 1, the author is using creation as a symbol to retell the story of how Solomon built the first temple. And he's using symbols of the whole of creation to retell the story. Well, the author of Genesis chapter 2 is doing the same thing. The author of Genesis 2, though he's not using the whole of creation to retell a story, the author of Genesis 2 is using the symbolism of a garden to retell the story of Israel. So the Garden of Eden represents the nation of Israel, because while the Israelites are in captivity, they're looking back and they're remembering the paradise that they lost. They remember Israel to be heaven on earth, or the Hebrew is Gan Adon. So when the person is writing down this narrative, he remembers Israel, the land that he once lost. He's remembering Israel as a Garden of Eden. And if the Garden of Eden is the land of Israel, then Adam represents the Israelites. This is why the nation of Israel and Adam have so many similarities, because the person of Adam and the Garden of Eden story is Israel. The story of Adam in the book of Genesis is a retelling of the nation of Israel using symbolism of a garden. So from the context of the story, the Adam and Eve story was never written to be a story about two historical people to begin with.